Have you ever felt like your entire world was turned upside down? You know, where what someone says just doesn't match what you feel in your gut? Well, today we're going to dive into a really powerful concept from Lawson's work that explores exactly that, the incredibly complex, confusing dynamic of growing up with a borderline mother. That's a parent who's dealing with some really intense emotional instability and a very fragile sense of who they are. Okay, let's get into it.
This quote from Through the Looking Glass, it just totally nails the feeling. For kids growing up in this kind of environment, reality itself can feel, well, backwards. It's illogical, it's upside down, it's a world where you're constantly just trying to make sense of things that really don't add up.
So, what does it actually feel like to live inside this looking glass world? Well, for the children there, their entire reality is built on a foundation of constant, mind-bending contradiction.
Okay, so the key to understanding this whole world is a term that Lawson uses, counter-discourse. Think of it like this. Imagine hearing a beautiful piece of music, but the notes, which are written to be soft and gentle, are being played with this harsh, loud, angry energy. That clash, that complete mismatch, that's the daily experience for these children.
And here's what counter-discourse looks like in action. The words might say, "I love you," but the hug feels crushing, not comforting. You get a compliment like, "You look nice," but it's delivered with this icy tone that just makes you feel small. Your brain is literally struggling to process two conflicting realities at the exact same time.
According to Lawson, this creates this very specific kind of psychological distress. It's kind of like that character in a James Thurber story who sees this incredible unicorn in his garden. He knows what he saw. It was real to him. But when he runs to tell someone, he's told he's crazy, that unicorns don't exist.
So you can imagine the long-term effects of this are just profound. You learn that your own perceptions, your own reality, can't be trusted. To survive, you actually have to ignore your own intuition, that gut feeling, because the most important person in your life is constantly telling you it's wrong. You start to feel like you're going crazy just for seeing the unicorn in the garden.
So this all leads to a really big question, right? Why? Why does this happen? To really get a handle on the child's experience, we have to first understand where this unstable world is even coming from.
So why is everything so shaky? Well, according to Lawson, this instability isn't just random chaos. The reason for this whole looking glass world, it all starts inside the mother's own internal state.
And this is such a crucial point. For these kids, figuring out who they are isn't a one-step journey. To understand themselves, they first have to understand the parent whose inner world basically built their reality from the very first day.
Think of it like this. A child learns who they are by seeing themselves reflected in their mother's eyes. It's like looking into a mirror. But what if that mirror is distorted? What if it's cracked and warped by the mother's own unresolved pain, her own fears, her own emptiness? Well, then the child absorbs that distorted image as their own identity. It's no wonder their sense of self is so shaky.
But, and this is so important, this is not a life sentence. The very thing that describes the problem, this idea of living backwards, can actually become the key to the solution. It can be transformed from this confusing fate into a conscious, deliberate path toward healing.
So, in this context, living backwards doesn't mean being stuck in the past. Not at all. It means you're intentionally going back to that looking glass world, but this time you're going as an adult to finally make sense of it all. It's about understanding what happened, not to relive the pain, but so you can finally build a future that's free from its grip.
Lawson breaks this whole journey down into three really essential steps. First, you return to the past, not to stay there, but to understand it. Then you reclaim all the parts of yourself that got lost or buried, your real feelings, your intuition, and finally, you get to recreate your life, building a future that's based on who you really are, not that distorted reflection you were shown as a kid.
And this right here, this is the promise of that journey. It's just a message of such profound hope. The goal isn't just to get by or to survive. It's to actually thrive, to rediscover that joy and freedom and creativity that might have been buried for years.
So how do you even start to find your way forward on a path like this? Well, it often begins with finding a source of light in all that darkness.
For many people, that light comes from getting professional support. According to Lawson, therapy can be like earning the diploma you need to finally graduate from that old, confusing world and into a much brighter, more stable one. It gives you a safe place to do that hard work of returning, reclaiming, and recreating.
But you know, sometimes the most powerful light can come from just one person. Lawson tells this incredible story of an art teacher who noticed a bullied fifth grader, a boy named Damon, and she just took a moment to give him this life-changing gift. She told him, "I want you to know that you have one person who believes in you." And get this, that was the first time anyone had ever said that to him. It changed everything.
And this brings us to a really powerful call to action, because just being aware of this dynamic isn't a passive thing. For those of us who can see what's happening, shining that light of understanding can literally be a lifeline. It can be like a beacon that guides a ship safely back to shore.
And that leaves us with a final thought. Whether it's for yourself or for someone else you know, the journey out of that looking glass world always begins with a single point of light. So the crucial question really is, where will you find yours?